The views expressed on the following program are not necessarily those of WPSL. However, we're the ones who've encouraged you all along to like and share them on your favorite social media as well as with all your friends and neighbors, because it's time for JOANN'S Nutrition World in downtown Fort Pierce to present JOANN'S World of Nutrition with Joanne Seeger.
Good morning, everyone. Happy Wednesday. I hope everyone's having an incredible morning. I am thrilled. Once again, we have one of my favorite guests, Cheryl Meyers from Terry Naturally, on the line. I have learned. Good morning, Cheryl. How are you?
I am fine and very delighted to be here.
Okay,
and
so
I'm
we're
kind of
going
glad
to
I'm
get
not
your
there in
volume in
person.
about a second. So we'll
Okay.
just, I'm hearing you now.
Are you?
Good morning.
Good morning. It's so nice to be here.
Thank you. I have learned with different guests that sometimes I should just like get right into it because, we feel like we're being cut off every hour. It's an hour is not even enough, right?
Absolutely.
And when I go to the conferences with you, it's when sometimes I look at that itinerary every year and I go, wow. I mean, gosh, we're starting at 7 a.m. and not finishing till, 5 or 6. But really, you still are left hanging like more. I need more. So, yep. So I will see you soon. I'm going to the Texas one.
Oh,
Yeah,
great.
going to the Texas one, so super excited. So for any newbies, this is Cheryl Meyers. She is with Terry Naturally, Europharma. So if anyone has been inside my store, they know I absolutely love Terry Naturally because it's pretty much in every corner of my store. And if you go to my home into my pantry, I'm being super honest, it's pretty much 80% Terry. And it's nice. And if anyone saw the live cam when I went on my vacation, what did I bring with me? All of Terry stuff. I mean, I had a couple things. I think, he didn't make the ginger candies, obviously, that I needed for travel. But I absolutely love Cheryl Meyers. She is a wealth of information, and I really, I would, if you have the moment and you're not working and you really can take notes, sometimes I swear I'm going to remember everything she says, and I get to the store 10 minutes later after the show and I'm go, wait, what did she say about that detail? So if you can take notes, I really, she really is a wealth of information. Cheryl, I know you got your, for any newbies listening, I know you got your little bio down pat and always with your little nice comedic tone that I love about you. So you want to let the newbies know all about you?
Oh, sure. My first degree is in nursing, so I am a registered nurse, and I went back to college and got some other degrees. But while I was working in nursing, and I went to Purdue, which is an awesome school, go Boilermakers, but it was very rigid, especially at the time that I went to school. There was none of this vitamin, mineral, herb voodoo stuff. My nutrition professor said the American diet is so full of calories and Americans are so overfed, there's no way they could ever have any kind of nutrient deficiency. And all these people that try to sell that stuff are just a bunch of hucksters. And, I remember my surgical professor saying that, that the American Medical Association was taking steps to get rid of chiropractic medicine because it was completely ineffective. And so, I mean, just all of this really not just neutral, but negative ideation around the world of seeking health in any way except right down the main road, only mainstream medicine. That's the only thing that counted. Well, if there's any blessing to age, it's that your worldview starts to open up a little bit. And I was always intrigued by other pathways that people can use to achieve their health goals. I always believed that it was maybe the path was a little bit wider than I had been told. And when I was working, I was a pain control specialist in hospice care, which is end stage care for the terminally ill. And my patients were using everything, herbs and touch therapies and hypnotism and creative visualization and prayer and specialty diets. And I mean, the list went on and on and on because not even if they didn't believe they were going to have a cure, they wanted to feel better. And I saw some people who felt better. I saw some people who did much better with the intervention of some of the things from the natural world of health. And I also saw people get ripped off. I saw one of my favorite patients was a young man in his late 30s, professional photographer from New York City, who was at his parents' home dying of AIDS. And it was heartbreaking. He's a very smart man, but he got tricked into buying a rubber band that went around his head at night with an electrode attached to it, attached to a battery that was supposed to send a low volt of electricity through his bloodstream as he slept and kill all the AIDS virus. And it only cost $1,400. So there was that in me that was really, really drawn to this world, but at the same time, ask the question, how do you tell what's real from the charlatans out there that are just trying to make a buck? And be careful what questions you ask, because that happened to me 25 years ago, and I've been in this industry ever since. I jumped the fence entirely. So even though I did work in mainstream medicine for quite a while, for the last 25 years, I've been working in what I like to call integrative health, because I think our best health outcomes occur when we weave together all the worlds that all kinds of medicine has to offer. And I believe that if it's clinically studied, scientifically investigated, and proven to provide a health benefit, it should be respected as a medicine.
Absolutely. And that's what I love about the whole company, especially Terry. He just really dives in deep throughout the world. And I was blessed with having him on the show. And we did discuss the Greek mountain tea in detail. And of course, I played a repeat already of it. So, so yeah, and it's incredible. And I always like to mention to people the money back guarantee that the company has, because that's so rare with brick and mortar stores. You know, you see that online, but you're still, even seeing that seal, you still get the EBGBs. You know, the
Mhm.
hair stands up on your back like, yeah, I know it has that. But then you try to call, and meanwhile, your credit card's charged another month, and you have enough
Yep.
inventory for 4 years, but yet it's a money back guarantee. So I do love it because it's real, it's touchable, it's tangible, and again, no one has to use it because everything is amazing. So Cheryl, I think what I like to discuss today, and I know that you're a wealth of knowledge on every topic, but there is, so, we're in Florida, our heat, of course, everyone comments about Florida heat, but, I just got back from Vegas, we got heat everywhere in the country right now, right? Um, but, our humidity, our heat, a lot of people are relying on the wrong liquids for hydration, the coffee drinks and the sodas and sweet teas, not realizing that's not providing any hydration. So a lot of tiredness, fatigue, but they're looking for something, through these drinks, to give them that pick me up throughout these exhausting hot summer Florida days. So I know you have an incredible product that did take to Vegas with me. It kept me walking that strip back and forth. So I would love to start the discussion with the red ginseng. We did touch on it the last time you were on the show, but I really want to talk about it in detail as far as why the red ginseng chewable, why the capsule, why the libido for men and for women, like, all the different ones, and why Terry created all the different ones.
Mhm. All right. Well, I don't think that I would hazard a guess. I would bet you $25 that there's not a single person in our listening audience who has not wanted more energy at one time or another.
Absolutely.
I mean, it is just one of those things, especially as you age. They say that youth is wasted on the young. And when I see my grandchildren running around nonstop, I think, oh my God, if I had half that energy,
Yeah.
well, the things I would do. So energy is a precious commodity, and sometimes we don't value it as much as we should until we start to lose some of it, and it starts to become more difficult to rise to the occasion. When you're dealing with energy, well, first, health equals energy. So if you are struggling with some health concerns, whether it's high blood pressure, whether it's problems with your kidneys, whether it's non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, whether it's recovery from cancer treatment, whatever the case may be, you can't really address improvements in your daily energy until you address also whatever underlying health concern is causing this big stressor. So that's a piece of the equation, is to look at energy as a function of every single thing that's going on in your body. If you have a brain disease, it's going to impact your energy. If you have a liver disease, it's going to impact your energy. If you have a heart disease, it's going to impact your energy. So to think about whole health is always a portion of having better levels of energy. Now, that said, because every expert everywhere on every show always says, you know, healthy diet, exercise. And they say it so many times that it starts to, lose its impact, but it is absolutely true. Your diet can also play a role in your energy and getting out and moving. Our bodies love us very, very much. Our bodies want to do exactly what we tell our bodies to do. So if you sit on a sofa and only get up to go to the fridge, you are telling your body you don't need very much energy. So why would it waste its time trying to help you out? But if you go out every day and you walk 2 blocks, maybe not in this weather, maybe you'd want to do a treadmill, but if you go out and do something that requires energy, your body goes, oh my gosh, my person needs energy. I better create some more. So the more active you are, the more your body responds to you by giving you more energy, because now you've told your body, hey, I'm not just sitting around. I need you to start creating some energy stores for me. Now, when you want to become more energetic, if you're looking at a little bit shorter term, there are lots of different ways to boost energy. And you mentioned the drinks and the caffeine and such. So one way to boost energy is through stimulation. And that's what you get when you drink caffeine. That's a stimulant. And I'm not dissing caffeine. I drink 2 cups of coffee every single morning. But caffeine works by shielding a part of your brain that hears fatigue molecules. Your body actually makes molecules that indicate, hey, we're getting fatigued. And they connect to the brain in certain areas. And that sends the signal to the brain that you're tired. Well, if you block those signals, you're still making all the fatigue molecules, but your brain doesn't know it's tired, so you just keep going. Problem is, when that stimulant wears off and when that shielding, slips away, all those fatigue molecules come rushing in at one time, and you just feel wiped. So your answer is to either just go fall down somewhere or slam some more caffeine. Cocaine works somewhat in that way as well. Cocaine is a super stimulant. There are different kinds of drugs that are used for allergy medicines that rev people up tremendously, like your pseudoephedrines and those kinds of things, because they mimic some of our speeder upper adrenal hormones. So these are all stimulants. Now, the reason I spent so much time talking about stimulants is because when we look at our HRG80 red ginseng, it is not technically a stimulant. So it does not block the area of your brain that listens to fatigue molecules. That has no impact there whatsoever. It starts to work at the beginning of the equation. It keeps you from becoming fatigued in the first place. It keeps you from creating so many fatigue molecules because it keeps you from becoming fatigued. So by working at the beginning instead of using a stimulant at the end to block what's already happened, it works much better. And you don't get that where it wears off. You don't get a crash. You don't get that shaky feeling when you slam a bunch of caffeine where you feel all kind of goofy and trembly and your butterflies in your stomach and all that sort of thing. It's a more moderate experience where you find that you're just not getting tired. So you don't necessarily feel all revved up, but you just don't get tired. And I love that because I find that you talked about using it in Vegas. I take a little bit higher dosages when I'm traveling because you're just doing things differently. You're getting up in the morning, you're doing something all day. Sometimes you have meetings in the evening, you're sleeping in a strange place, then you got to get up the next day and do it all over again. And I find that even after a 14 or 15-hour day, when I get back to my hotel room, I'm not saying that I'm ready to go tap dancing, but I'm still okay. I'm awake, I'm alert, I can sort out my clothes for the next day, and yet it does not interfere with sleep. So I really love the product for everyday energy. And as you mentioned, we have it in 2 forms. We have it in capsule form, and we also have it in a chewable tablet. I personally like the chewable tablet because the chewable tablet has an additional compound in it called Gamazorb that boosts absorption. So even though the label dose is less than the capsule, more of it gets in your bloodstream. And to be fair, I really like the flavor because it's kind of a maple nut, and I don't eat much in the way of candy. Terry would probably come by and whack me with a stick if I had a big bowl of candy at my desk. But I don't, but I do kind of like that sweet little maple nutty flavor in the morning. In fact, it works so well for me that I break the tablets in half and I'll take a half tablet. If I'm traveling, I'll take one or two full tablets in the morning. But otherwise, I just half tablet does me good. The other thing is that it's not like an hour later, suddenly, you're all revved up. It comes on more gradually. So what I notice is take it in the morning, I work through the morning, I have lunch, and that slump you get sometimes after you eat lunch where all you want to do is put your head down and go to sleep. It just doesn't come. I mean, it just doesn't happen. You just feel more able to continue going.
Absolutely agree with everything. And I do love the flavor as well, and I do prefer the chewable. And there is you can tell, I love selling those chewables.
Mhm.
I've never tried the half a tablet because I just love that one. It's just such great energy all day long. I always make that joke, when I had the two, I got the garage cleaned, and sometimes you have those projects that, your body might be like, no, no, but the two ginsengs really get you going.
Yes,
Um,
absolutely.
and you're right, you absolutely, it does not affect the sleep.
Yeah,
And like, you ever notice, Cheryl, I'm sure, like, I've noticed as, as I'm getting older and a woman that, the more I move during the day, the better I sleep. My
absolutely.
body is so, when I sit on the couch and just watch the Netflix shows and just really vegetate, it's like, the toss and turn happens. And it's incredible because you would think logically it'd be the opposite. Oh, I'm relaxing more, so I'd sleep better. But no, the more we move, the better our bodies perform. So it's
Absolutely.
absolutely incredible. Um, so we have about 6 minutes to the break. So let's talk. Let's start with the female libido product with the red ginseng. Because,
All right.
us girls need a little libido help sometimes too.
Well, both men and women can struggle with libido issues. With men, it is typically physiological, not always, but usually. That means that the mechanics aren't working, that there have been some disruption or there's some problem somewhere, that some part of that system isn't working very well. And if you fix that part of the system, then they're going to function better. With women, it's generally not mechanical. It's generally not something really awful that's gone wrong with the system. It usually has more to do with hormonal balance, desire, and sometimes just not even having the energy to become interested in having intimate relations with your significant other. So we was trying to be all inclusive, right?
No, I love
All
it.
inclusive, whoever that person may be, as long, so so women struggle more with, as I said, getting in the mood. They need to relax. Sometimes women make themselves crazy because they're not quite in the mood, and then they get anxious because they're not in the mood. So just, that's the reason I like the women's formula is that it's focusing more on number one, hormonal balance. Because when we, especially around menopause, we start to see some imbalance. We see some drops in estrogen, but more importantly, we see some drops in testosterone. And when I talk about testosterone in women, they go, oh my gosh, testosterone, women don't have testosterone. Well, absolutely they do. They just don't have very much of it. Women and men both have the same hormones, estrogen, testosterone, they just have it in different proportions. So it's the testosterone system in women that generally plays a role in libido and desire. And those hormones start to fall off with menopause as well. So getting those rebalanced, which is the main focus of some of the ingredients in our red ginseng for women, for women's libido or women's sexual health. There's some maca in there, which has some excellent clinical studies showing how it can help women that are going through some hormonal imbalances, especially around perimenopause and menopause. And then you've got the red ginseng, which does support the testosterone system in the body, but it's not going to drive your testosterone levels up so that again, you look like Popeye with big muscles and grow a mustache. That's not going to happen. But just by giving the body a little bit of extra help, a little bit of extra nudge, it can make a huge difference. Now, this is not a product for date night. You don't take it and immediately feel better, or you feel all of a sudden, ooh la la. This is something where you're helping to repair some of the underlying systems. So you generally have to be on it 4 to 8 weeks. Some women faster. I admit I've been contacted by women said 2 or 3 weeks in they were noticing a big difference, but give it some time because it takes a while to help rebalance some of those systems, and you're just going to feel better. And plus, the red ginseng also helps with energy. And sometimes lack of libido is very closely tied to lack of energy, especially when it gets later in the evening and you've spent all day super busy, and the last thing you want to do is uh, become engaged physically. All you want to do is curl up and go to sleep. So they have a variety of different ingredients that will help with all of those different systems.
That sounds incredible. And I do love maca too. I'm a big fan. So, are there any concerns, Cheryl, for people using the female formula if they have history of breast cancer? Because a lot of the doctors will say that no hormonal products. So, you used that description. So, I just want to clarify with my audience. If there's any fear of breast cancer or they have already previously had it, can they use this product?
There's something to be concerned about if you've had breast cancer in the past, and that's ingredients that increase estrogen or ingredients that look like estrogen themselves. There is a little bit of concern with those kinds of ingredients. When we look at the red ginseng formula, it does not raise your estrogen levels, and therefore, what scientifically speaking should not be a problem. But I don't know each and every person, and I don't know their history. And so I would encourage you, if you have concerns and you have some kind of hormonal cancer in the past, you can certainly discuss this with your healthcare practitioner. And if you need additional scientific information, you can always come to Joanne, and she can always come to me or to our group. We have a lot of people on our advisory board as well that can help. But for the most part, I would say probably not an issue.
Okay, I love that. You're so good. And all right, Cheryl. So perfect, perfect timing. We're going to do a break. And then when we get back, much more good information. Don't worry, guys. We're going to talk about your formula next and lots more info. Be right back.
You're listening to Joanne's World of Nutrition, and we'll be right back after about a minute or so for a break.
Hi, this is Joanne from Nutrition World and Wellness Center. I am really excited to introduce new guests and topics to my show every Wednesday morning at 10 a.m. here on WPSL, where my listeners can call in on any topic. If I don't know the answer, I'll try to find it. We want to help you become the best version of yourself. We'll have naturopaths, coaches. I am looking forward to sharing my years of experience with my listeners so we can enjoy this life journey together.
Visit Joanne's Nutrition World in the Kras Square, formerly known as the Arcade Building, located at US 1 and Orange Avenue, across from Fort Pierce City Hall. Open Monday through Friday from 10 to 4, Saturdays 10 to 3. Taking appointments for the Wellness Center online at joannesnutritionworld.com or call 772-464-3598.
This is WPSL Port St. Lucie, the talk of the Treasure Coast.
Welcome back to Joanne's World of Nutrition. Once again, here's your host, Joanne Seeger.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for spending some time with us this morning. I have a special guest, Cheryl Meyers, with us. We're discussing energy, red ginseng, libido, and much more information to follow. But I do want to mention Terry has authored many incredible books, and I have a good amount of them that are free at the store. So if you want to pop into the store, check out the assortment. I really suggest that people give a quick read and then pass it along to family and friends and co-workers, because this information, he writes these books that are just so easy to read. They're so interesting, and I love that he offers them for free, because education, just like Cheryl's empowering you now with more education, there are whole companies based on information, education, and really helping people understand that supplements do have a place in this world, and incredible literature all over my store, right, Cheryl? I mean, I have every pamphlet, every, books, everything. So if you really are interested in some of these topics, come on in the store, grab a handful, and you will not be disappointed. Not at all.
Can I brag on my team for a
Oh,
little bit?
please. I love your
Okay.
team. Everyone that I meet, I just, yeah, in awe. Go
So
ahead.
my team, education and regulatory affairs, wonderful, wonderful people, some of whom I've worked with for 20 plus years. Uh, for the fourth year in a row has won Best Educational Literature and Educational Outreach in the Industry.
That's
As
incredible.
Yeah, and so we're pretty proud of that. It's no single person's efforts. It's all of us together, but I have to give credit to Terry because you don't have to have education. You have to have manufacturing, and you have to have people that write up the labels, and you have to have, salespeople, but you don't have to have an elite education team that has people with PhDs and master's degrees and naturopathic physicians and medical doctors. And you don't have to have that to sell products. It is because Terry believes that we're not selling products, we're selling health, and you can't sell health unless you do a thorough investigation of what you're asking people to put inside their bodies, number one, to prove that they're actually going to work. And number two, have the people on board to provide the education to match the right person with the product that's going to make a difference in their lives.
Cheryl, and that is so on point. And I do want to point out, the first time that I went to one of the conferences, again, I'm going on 38 years. I don't know. One day I'll say 40, so it'll be easier, right? But um, so when I went and I got invited to the first one, I was like, oh my gosh, I am not doing 3 days, morning to night, of sales pitches. There is no way I am doing that. I don't care how much they feed me or what they give me. There's just no way, right?
Right.
And then, it was back then, it was Leslie, and
Mhm.
my sweet friend at Leslie, and she she convinced me, and it took some convincing. And when I sat down and all of a sudden I saw on the itinerary oncology and naturopathic and all, I'm like going, wait, what? Like, this isn't all about selling and product. And it was hours and hours of just education on serious topics with guests that, are really well known. And I was just, that was it. Hook, line, sinkered from that moment on. So yeah, so I applaud the company in that way too. It's just not about, it's really about helping people. And that's why I love you guys.
Oh,
It's
thank you. We,
really
we love you
incredible.
too, because if we didn't have quality retailers out there that pay attention to the science behind products and not just what gives them the biggest profit margin, we wouldn't do as well as we do. And so we're really glad that we have people that can help us connect to the customers out there who need these products. And they do need these products. I often say that when I jumped over the fence from mainstream medicine to integrative medicine, I probably added 10 years to my life. The things that I have learned over the course of time, I have made so many changes in my own life. I've incorporated supplements into my regimens and protocol to stay healthy, and my goal is to be able to do the tango by when I'm 99.
I love it. I love
There you
that
go.
goal. I have to do a goal like that. I won't steal the tango, but I'm gonna do something similar. I love it. My husband keeps talking about hang gliding, but I'm not really sure I can do that one, but maybe something like that I can
Yeah.
handle.
Or the cha-cha.
Yeah.
You never
But,
know. Something.
yeah, and one other quick story, because I just remembered when the first day in Vegas, Matt and I went to a local health food store, which I love doing. And they have Terry Naturally, of course, like who doesn't? But they didn't know about these conferences, right? And so you would think I was working for you guys. I just got so excited and so passionate, and da 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 da. And my husband's like laughing at me, but they got so excited too, and they were like, and it's just like, how there's no other company I can say that about. No other company that I know of. So again, thank you again.
Oh, thank you.
All right, so I promised the men we were going to talk about them next.
Right.
And I always tell every customer, even though I have a young husband, he does use the libido product. And I'm not embarrassed to say to every male because it is happening to the younger men too. I have husbands coming in at 35 and, they come home from work and they are beat up and not really so much in the mood. So let's talk about the men now. Is there help for them, Cheryl?
Absolutely. And I have to say that men are having more and more difficulties with sexual performance, in part because of our ongoing exposure to estrogenic compounds. I mean, we all know we're not supposed to drink out of plastic that has BPA. BPA stands for bisphenol, phthalate, when we look at that. So when we look at BPA, that's a fake estrogen. So when you get those little molecules into your body, they think they're estrogen, and then they kind of fight against the activity of the testosterone. When we look at there's estrogenic compounds in drinking water. I've had water filtration systems in my house for well over 25 years. Ever since there was a bacterial outbreak in tap water in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, that killed some folks. And I thought that's ridiculous because we're all brought up to think that we can never have to worry about our tap water. Then there's also estrogenic compounds in the foods that we eat. If you're not buying organic, the pesticides and herbicides that they use disrupt the sexual function of the insects. They're called endocrine disruptors, and so they can't procreate. Well, even though a tiny amount's not going to do anything to you, a tiny amount eaten 3 times a day over the course of 10 years may indeed do something to you. Sperm counts are dropping like crazy in all of the Western world. In some areas, sperm counts are about 50% of what they were 50, 60 years ago. Not to worry, there's still enough of the little fellas to get the job done, but it doesn't look like we're in danger of not continuing with our population. But it's just there's a lot of reasons beyond being out of shape or being a little bit down in the dumps why men would be struggling with optimal sexual function. Now, when I talked about men, I said most of the time with men, it's a mechanical issue. And if you fix the mechanics or improve the mechanics, the function improves as well. So the easiest way is not 100% accurate, but the easiest way to tell whether it's a physiological or psychological issue is if a man gets erections in his sleep, it's not mechanical. There's something else, and they should probably go talk to someone about whatever's inhibiting them from proper function. But if they are not able to get a full erection, they're just getting partial erections, or they can't hold the erection as long as they would like to get, as I say, hope it doesn't sound too crude, to get the job done, then that's usually mechanical. And a lot of it has to do with the way blood works in the penis. So in the penis, there's this huge area called the corpus. Anyway, this body of the penis, there's this huge area that fills with blood, and then it stops. It traps the blood there. So you have an erection. It's like blowing up a balloon. So you put all the air in it, or in this case, you put all the blood in it, tie it off, and then slowly the place that keeps the blood in the penis starts to relax and the blood flows out again. So by improving the ability of the blood vessels in the penis to relax and fill with blood and improving blood flow, you're going to see some excellent improvements in physiological function. So that's why we have, there's a compound in the body called nitric oxide, and its abbreviation is NO. And nitric oxide is the key player when it comes to blood vessel relaxation, proper filling of blood in the penis, and keeping the blood there until it's no longer needed. It's not, we all know that Viagra and all those drugs work via the NO system as well, but it is a very different way. It's much safer when you do it in smaller increments, when you just overall help improve the body's nitric oxide activity, than when you get out a whip and crack the whip and say, you will perform now, which is what the drugs do, which is why they put so much stress on vision. They put so much stress on cardiovascular function, brain function. So the ingredients in the male formula for this HRG80 red ginseng have to do, a lot of them, with nitric oxide. We have this blend that contains apple and saffron and grape, a couple of other different polyphenols that has been clinically studied in men who were unable to achieve full hardness. and found that after only 4 weeks, significant improvements in all areas. The ability to achieve an erection, the hardness of the erection, and the length of time that the erection is held. And that's just one piece of the formula. The HRG80 red ginseng does help with energy. It does nudge the testosterone system a little bit, but it's not going to send it into the stratosphere. And so as a result of that, using this formula, again, not a date night formula. You don't take it and go out and have dinner and dancing and a lovely into the evening. You use this over time, 4 to 8 weeks, get it on board, start making sure your nitric oxide is puffing better. They call it nitric oxide puffing. And then you're just going to see improvements. Absolutely.
Well, I'm sure a lot of male listeners are very excited about this conversation because not only is it effective, but like you mentioned, against some of the other alternatives, it's safer. Like you guys always strive to work at cause, not symptomology, and make it safe, and prevention is the key. That you guys are always trying to promote that, and I do as well. Like, really, please, let's look at causes, not the symptom, and work on prevention. It's so much easier to address situations if you be more preventative.
Mhm.
So that sounds incredible, but you did say a couple buzzwords that I'd like to ask you about. So you mentioned the nitric oxide, the NO, and the blood. Would this formula help the heart? Because, it does sound like it would.
Yeah, you're just too smart for me. That's the best side effect. You know how side effects of drugs are things like nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, hives, whatever. Side effect of this formula is it is very heart healthy because that same NO system also relaxes coronary arteries. When people talk about blood flow to the heart, sometimes people are confused because they think, well, the biggest blood vessels in the body, I mean, you got your aorta coming out of the heart. These are huge blood vessels. Those are not the blood vessels that feed the heart. That's just the highway. The blood vessels that feed the heart muscle itself are called coronary arteries, and they're laid out across the heart muscle like a little spider web network. They're not very big. Unfortunately, as we age and in the presence of certain diseases, especially when you have too high a blood sugar, even a little bit of high blood sugar damages blood vessels. It's the smaller ones that take the hit first. And if they get irritated and inflamed, then plaque starts to build up because your body uses plaque as a band-aid. Sometimes they rupture. If it's bad enough, if you get a clot stuck in one of them, it can cause a heart attack. So when you have nice, relaxed blood vessels that aren't held, that aren't spastic, when you improve blood flow without blood thinning, because I'm always asked about that, you can improve blood flow. It doesn't mean you're thinning the blood, but you can improve blood flow. That is incredibly useful for your heart. And you know what else it's incredibly useful for? Another important system in our body that uses nitric oxide in addition with as far as how the tissue itself is nourished and how the blood gets there is our brain. So it's good for your brain, it's good for your heart, it's good for more than one thing. That's what I love about this industry. You might take, for example, curcumin. You might take our Curamed 750 because you have bursitis in your hip, but it also helps to prevent cancer, heart disease, and Alzheimer's disease. So this is just like big, huge buckets of benefits.
Yeah. And unfortunately, there's still people that think only take the Curamed or the Curamin if you have pain. Like,
No, no.
just come and get it when you're feeling pain. But yeah, no, definitely an everyday item. Again, prevention, prevention, prevention.
Mhm.
So Cheryl, you make talking about this subject, which is difficult for some, so easy. So I'm gonna ask a question that I've never asked before.
Okay.
And if you don't know the answer, it's all good. Okay. So there are intimacy products that are being sold for females that promise more blood flow to the vaginal area to help with orgasms. Um, could these products, the male or female, help with that, because I know that there's a lot of chemicals in those products, and my couple girlfriends that brought it to my attention, the ingredient labels, as like, oh my gosh, I wouldn't put that anywhere near, not only the external part of my body, but internally.
Mhm.
Any thoughts on that?
Are these oral products or topical lotions and
They're
such?
topical lotions.
Well, I know exactly what you're talking about, and they can be beneficial. Some women, if you have sensitive skin, they can be a very uncomfortable. But for some women, they're useful because, all right, so everybody's used like a topical pain reliever, right? Like
Right.
an old-fashioned Bengay or something, where you rub it on your skin and you go, oh, you get that zippy sensation.
Yep.
You might get that when you're chopping garlic, or God forbid, jalapenos. You get that zippy sensation. Well, what they do is they put it into a lotion that you rub in the external genitalia, and it does increase blood flow because it's a mild irritant, and you get that zippy sensation. And for some women, that's helpful and beneficial. When women are aroused, they generally produce more vaginal fluid. And sometimes, as women, especially around perimenopause, menopause, sometimes dryness interferes with enjoyment. So there are a lot of different aspects to look at. Could they be used together? There's absolutely no reason why they couldn't be used together if that's something that's working for someone. If dryness is part of the issue, I would absolutely talk about our omega-7 sea buckthorn oil, which sounds like it's a topical. It is not. It's an oral product, comes from Finland, and sea buckthorn has a compound in it called omega-7 fatty acids. And all omegas have their role in the body, but omega-7s are particularly good at, they are incorporated into cell walls, and they're good at holding on to moisture. And so there's been study after study that shows that it increases vaginal lubrication and reduces vaginal inflammation, because dryness can lead to inflammation and even discharge. So great human clinical trials on this product. I would start out with 2 capsules twice daily if that's one of the issues you're struggling with. But you know, it sometimes the answer is not one thing. I wish it were. Wouldn't you love to wake up in the morning, take one capsule, and it's all taken care of? But sometimes you have to kind of cobble together a protocol of what works for you.
Yeah, some people still ask me, can you ask Terry to just make it everything like in a couple? I'm like, I don't think we want to ask Terry that because of his
Yeah,
regimen. Yeah,
yeah,
that would be a humongous tablet that would be 5 feet tall. But
yes.
but since we're talking about this, I do want to say that if anyone wants a awesome natural lubricant, MCT oil or fractionated coconut oil works incredible.
And they're good
Absolutely
for you.
incredible. And they're good
Yeah.
for you, and they're much more economical than all these things that are full with fragrance and chemicals and things I definitely would not want to put in my body. So definitely check those out. So, wow. So we and omega-7, one of my favorites.
I love
Cheryl.
it.
I'm so glad you brought up omega-7. So many people now have dry eyes, and they're like literally going, I don't understand. Like they're not even calling it dry eyes. They'll say, I have sand in my eye. And so I don't understand why, they're not understanding dry eye, sand in the eye feeling, but still people are just calling it like, I feel like I have grit in my eyes. I mean, I've never experienced that, but that sounds so uncomfortable. Like I can't even imagine, but the
Mhm.
omega-7 is for that as well, correct?
Absolutely. As I said, every omega has its own superpower. And omega-7s, which are relatively rare, we find them in sea buckthorn oil. There's another source, too expensive to use for a supplement, but that's macadamia nuts. So if you like macadamia nuts, give yourself permission. Got a lot of omega-7 in there,
Yeah,
but
very expensive, very
they're
expensive.
very expensive, but yes. But the omega-7s are incorporated into the cell wall. And as I said, they're superpowers. They're great at holding on to moisture. So we talked about vaginal lubrication, but of course, what if you've got dry mouth? A lot of people have dry mouth. A lot of them have dry mouth as a consequence of radiation therapy or chemotherapy. Dry eyes are on the increase because we don't blink as much when we stare at computer screens. And so that can cause some drying.
Oh,
So there's a lot of different exposures we have. And then plus, oh, maybe in Florida you were exempt, but we're in Green Bay, Wisconsin. We're not very far from the Canadian border. And we had at one point our town, Green Bay, Wisconsin, not very notable except for football and Terry naturally, right? Uh, had the worst air quality in the entire world
Oh my
from
gosh.
from the Canadian wildfires. Like they have these scales that are like 0 up, and
Right.
the more particulate matter, the higher the number. And generally, we're well under 100. In fact, yesterday we were at 27. But when the wildfire, when that wind was blowing our way, when you whipped out and this is Wisconsin, not even Canada, when you got up in the morning and stepped outside, you could smell burning, you could smell smoke, and
Wow.
our numbers went well over 300, and everybody was having trouble breathing. Our eyes, oh my gosh, it just felt like the sand in the eyes because there was all this gunk in the air.
How long did that last?
Gosh, we struggled with air quality for almost 2 weeks, and it depends on, as I said, they're having great difficulty containing these wildfires. There's, at my understanding, millions of acres in Canada that are dealing with this. But we're good right now. But if the wind shifts and if the air currents go in a certain direction, all of a sudden we're faced with that smoke particles in the air, which is called particulate matter.
Wow, that's difficult. Like we get the sands here, but it's like maybe a half a day or a day
Mhm,
or
mhm.
and wow, that would be difficult for me.
Yes.
Yeah, that would be difficult. So did the omega-7 help your eyes during that time?
I will have to be honest and say no,
Okay.
because I was not taking it, and then it generally does not work within the first week or so. Do you know, I usually have to stay on board a little bit. I did start it up though, because I didn't know how long this was going to go on. My son, however, has problems with, he's a very good looking young man, if I do say so myself. My 23-year-old son was, he has struggles with dry skin, which is unusual because usually kids are dealing with oily skin. So he has some dry skin issues. And he is oh my gosh, he uses our omega-7 product like you wouldn't believe. I mean, he's a big advocate. I think that's probably either that or the quercetin with vitamin C is his favorite product. And he did not struggle. Of course, he's younger, but he didn't struggle nearly as much as I did. I would say, doesn't this bother your eyes? And he'd say, what? Doesn't what bother my eyes?
Wow, that's incredible. Yeah,
Yeah.
everyone that I have put on it that's really consistent with it has noticed a substantial difference, especially with vaginal dryness and the eye dryness. It's incredible for them. I mean, it's life changing, absolutely life changing. When you can't even walk and that's painful or blink your eye, that really it would be life changing.
Mhm.
So, well, Cheryl, what's kind of funny as we have, 5 minutes left. I'm like, well, there was supposed to be a whole nother component to this radio show, which is sleeping. So let's see, because you're that amazing. So if you can tell everyone what's your favorite, now I'm going to call it sleep remedy. But we both know that it does a whole lot more. So, could you describe melatonin in 5 minutes, your bullet points?
Sure.
Okay.
Melatonin is something your body makes. It is released, it's called the hormone of darkness. There's some debate on whether it's actually a hormone or not, because melatonin also occurs in nature. It's in plants, it's in animals. It's just one of those required molecules that we need in our body for health. Melatonin is like an orchestra conductor. And in order to, part of going to sleep is for your brain to tell you it's time, send out the signals that it's time for sleep. Sometimes when we're watching an exciting action adventure flick on TV, we don't send out those signals. And then when we turn it off, we wonder why we can't go to sleep. So it's important to allow yourself to be in the dark. I'm a big advocate of darkness. I don't like that not all, but many of my neighbors leave their lights on outside all night long. And I think it's so disruptive to animals, and it's not good for their sleep patterns either. But I digress. Melatonin helps boost that for you, because sometimes we don't have as much of an orchestra conductor as we need for proper sleep. Now, as you mentioned, melatonin is also useful in cancer protocols. It's useful in, oh my gosh, fatty liver disease, endometriosis. The list goes on, because an orchestra conductor certainly touches a lot of different parts of the body. But just if we're talking about sleep and consistent sleep, I would absolutely say that the most consistent way is to use melatonin. It also is good for your health. Some people get results with very low doses. Some people go up to 5, 10, even 15 milligrams a night before they get where they need to be. Two biggest complaints are people wake up groggy, or people have really vivid dreams, and which I don't mind vivid dreams. It's like watching a movie when I go to sleep. But if the dreams are scary, of course, or disturbing, but those are things that generally settle down. Those are not something that usually hang around because the reason you're having them is because of sleep deprivation. So you're in a sleep deficit, you take the melatonin and your body is going to sleep. It tries to make up for lost time. But generally, if you can stick with it for 5 or 6 days, that will all kind of settle down. If you're still feeling a little groggy in the morning, just rein back in on the dose a little bit.
Okay, that is absolutely great advice. Wow, that was good. And we do have melatonin books and pamphlets at the store to educate you on the topic fully. Like Cheryl said, it's not just for sleep. The one thing that I'm not sure if you said or Terry said or at a conference or the book, but to suggest to take it at sunset, not for when you hit the pillow. Was that you, Cheryl, that said that?
It's probably Terry because that's how he uses it.
Okay.
That does mimic your body. When the sun sets and it gets dark outside, that's when you start to prepare for sleep, even though it might be 4 or 5 hours before you go to bed. Excuse me. That's okay in the summertime. Like if you're going to take it at 9 o'clock and go to bed at 11. I'm not sure if the sun goes down at 4:30 in the afternoon that you want to take your melatonin in. Even though maybe a person who's strictly interpreting how it should be used might do it, but I generally say not right at bedtime, maybe about 2 hours before, 1 hour before, 2 hours before. Play with it a little bit, see what feels good to you.
Right. And like you said, maybe not watch this action thriller right before. We have definitely noticed our sleep patterns. If we watch something that's just a little too brainy, like even just a thriller or a drama, like, ooh, it can really mess up your whole sleep. You're just trying to analyze the whole episode as you're sleeping. It's like, wait, no, where did he go? What is he gonna do? Is he coming back? Yeah, no,
Yeah.
you got to be careful about what you watch right before bed. Well, Cheryl, as always, absolute pleasure. Thank you for your wealth of information. We'll definitely next time you come on, we'll go maybe into sleep in more detail
There you
instead of
go.
the 5 minutes synopsis. So thank you, Cheryl. Have an amazing day, and I look forward to seeing you in Texas.
I look forward to seeing you too. Bye-bye.
All right, bye. Thank you, everyone. Have an incredible week. I hope you enjoyed the show. Come on in and get some pamphlets and books. We would love to see you.
Wow, Joanne's World of Nutrition. Brought to you by Joanne's Nutrition World. US 1 at Orange Avenue, directly across the street from Fort Pierce City Hall. In the Crass Plaza, formerly known as the Safe Historic Arcade Building. And Joanne's World of Nutrition is heard every week at this time on WPSL, Port St. Lucie, the talk of the Treasure Coast, webcasted to the world on Google Home, Alexa, and the TuneIn app on your smartphone.